Thanks for tuning in to this month's blockchain update with my partner in the show, Dan Weiskopf, portfolio manager at Toroso Investments. Dan, thanks for coming back on. Let's dig right into it. So I'm looking at some of the names that your most recent blockchain update report mentioned, and I think it's worth going deeper on. In there, you talked about a category called the private blockchain, and you discussed how Oracle fits into that space. What do investors and advisors need to know about Oracle?
Listen, Oracle's one of the largest, if not the largest, database company. That fits exactly into the blockchain, meaning that if they can lower their costs and increase their efficiencies by using the blockchain, I think that's where they're headed. And we sold Oracle at a previous point in time because they were in the midst of the acquisition that they have now since closed on. Healthcare is so fat, at this point, it needs to be reduced in terms of costs. The blockchain's part of that solution.
All right, Dan, now we've talked about this on previous episodes, but it's worth going back to Walmart and where Walmart fits in the private blockchain story.
Well, similarly, Walmart, lives in a world, but it's opposite of healthcare. But they live in a world where they're working with thin margins, right? And so they need the efficiency that the blockchain can offer, and they're looking towards that to reduce their costs for some of their logistic issues. Tracking where the trucks are can be a cost savings, because if somebody goes off course, guess what? It costs Walmart some money. They're also exploring NFTs. They're also exploring the metaverse. This is a retail of mammoth proportions, right? It's the largest grocery store company globally. They need to reduce their costs. And again, I think that the blockchain is part of that solution. By the way, not necessarily in the immediate fashion, right? On a long-term basis.
Mm-hmm. So we've spoken about overstock before on the show, but I read in your most recent report that you received a lot of inbound inquiries on the security and why it's in the portfolio today. What's your take on overstock today?
Well, I'm going to give your audience a little tease, because we actually have the venture capital firm for an interview, and he outlines what's happening in Overstock's portfolio during the interview, which I'm really excited about. So bottom line Overstock effectively has two businesses the way we look at it. One, the Overstock business that they sell furniture, et cetera, for. Everybody knows about that. That free cash flow is going towards the blockchain Medici portfolio, and that might be worth, more than the underlying market cap right now.
Well, this gives us a great opportunity to talk about the show that you host called The Blockchain Interviews. If viewers or listeners would like to learn more, visit blockchaininterviews.com. That is blockchaininterviews.com. Dan has been hosting these for almost a year now, and he's interviewed the industry's leading experts from Michael Saylor all the way through the gamut of thought leaders in the space. Dan, when you look back at some of your more recent interviews, what stands out to you?
Most importantly, look beyond price. Price is something that is so easily measured, but it's not the story. It's somebody who is involved in Block came up with the slogan, come for the crypto, stay for the blockchain. And that's what we really highlight on these shows.
Yeah, excellent. Again, you can watch all past interviews by visiting blockchaininterviews.com. Dan, I was at a family reunion this past weekend. The topic of crypto and blockchain came up because my family sees these monthly updates that we produce. And somebody asked me to explain what a stable coin is. And admittedly, I was not able to give a crisp, concise answer. So let me pose it to you for the novice. Dan, what is a stable coin?
So ideally, first off, it's stable. Okay. That's not always the case. It hasn't been the case when there's algorithms backing okay? When you're talking about an algorithm, there's a lot that can go wrong. If you're talking about an asset-based stablecoin that is backed by treasuries, and the Treasury, the U.S. Treasury, is overseeing how it's structured, you're going to see a lot of regulation that supports that it is in fact stable. And the fact that it's stable matters because people can leave their value in the stable coin at a firm, we'll say like Silvergate, right? And feel comfortable with it, right? Because Silvergate, as a regulated bank, will be looking after it, right? That's way different than some of the stable coins that have faltered. And we're thinking forward here, okay? Regulation should be embraced, and I think that's going to help with the stable coin issue.
So Dan, looking at the attribution analysis of your fund last month, you bring up Silvergate. It really stood out to me. What drove the performance in Silvergate here recently?
Well, guess what? They earned money and they beat the numbers and people got excited. There's also, people need to be aware that for better or for worse, there's also a fair amount of short interest in a lot of the stocks that we're involved with. Positive results come about sometimes, and then the shorts have to cover. I think that's partially the reason why we had such a big rally in Silvergate. But we're thinking long term, so we don't necessarily sell into the short squeeze, but we're aware that it might happen at times.
So let's wrap with this question, because I haven't asked you in a while. Why have we not seen a spot Bitcoin ETF yet? And will we in the next 12 months?
12 months seems like eternity. Yeah, so 12 months, it is possible, but still not necessarily likely. But having said that, well, you know what? It would be really exciting to see an ETF, but I'm not sure that what's going on with BlackRock and Coin isn't going to have the same effect. Institutions are looking for ways to play, Bitcoin and invest in Bitcoin. And, if you have BlackRock out there creating a similar type of structure with similar types of liquidity, it may not be called an ETF, but it may have the same effect that people are so excited about.
So Dan, what are the 3 things investors need to know about the blockchain today?
1, it's more than Bitcoin price action. 2, corporations, the S&P 500, most all of them have a blockchain project that they're involved with. And 3rd, most importantly, if they don't, they might be blockbustered and all of a sudden find out that they're not involved and in trouble, their business.
Excellent. Dan, thanks for coming on this month's installment of the Blockchain Update. We'll see you next month.
Thanks, Jay. Be well.